This conference will now be recorded.
We were talking about Vipagam. I don't know whether we completed Vipagam. Anyway, we will start with that. Tridha Vipago Dravyasya Swadu Amla Kadugatmakaha. Tridha Vipago Dravyasya Swadu Amla Kadugatmakaha. Swadu Amla Kadugatmakaha. Tridha Vipakaha. Dravyasya Swadu Amla Kadugatmakaha. Vipakaha Tridha. So it is again a swasapnya. It's a technical term. Vipakaha. Vishishtaha pakaha. Vipakaha. So there is one question: what is the Vishishtada in that pakam? When we are thinking about the ahara pakam, aharam is the maybe the most prominent example of a dravya, panchabhaudika dravya, that we consume so as to nourish our dhadus. So as far as the paka of ahara is concerned, one can identify two types of paka. One paka is up to the completion of Jadharagni pakam, the pakam which is happening at the level of that Jadharagni. At that level, the ahara is disintegrated, split. Then that stage of Sarakitta Vibhajanam and Kitta Adhonayanam, formation of Sara. And this Sara, from that point onwards, is going to become the first dhadu of the Sharira, Rasa dhadu. So there is one junction between this ahara sara and Rasa dhadu. That is very crucial, because once it becomes Rasa dhadu, it is a part of the Sharira. Up to that, it is not a part of the Sharira. So when ahara sara is formed, after all these separations and everything, it is a pre-Rasadhadu stage which needs one last push to become a new dravya. So at that level itself, it is a new dravya. One more conversion, one more push to make it Rasadhadu, where a dravya which was heterogeneous as far as the Sharira Dhadus are concerned is becoming the homogeneous substance. That last push. Before that, when the Agni was processing the ahara, it goes through different paga visheshas, again, which is very much comparable to that swadu amla kadugatmagata. But that paga is different stages of transformation. No choice. No choice. That is known as prapagam. It's an avastha pagam. But vipagam is a nishtha pagam. Every dravya is becoming transformed to a particular stature once it is getting converted to that or becoming a part of the Rasadhatu. That is Nishtapakam. No more change possible. That is Vipakam. So as far as that Vipaka is concerned, there are three possibilities. Swadu, Amla, Kadugatmakaha. They are mentioned by the names of three rasas, but Vipaga is not rasa. They are mentioned by the names of three rasas because they behave in the similar manner of these three rasas. What is that behavior? That behavior is related to their specific inclination towards doshas. Swadu, Amla, and Kaduga are three representatives, which are representatives of three doshas here. So this is a connecting link. Generally, we think that okay, vipaka is an attribute which is there in every dravya. It is true, but it is not an absolute thing which resides in the dravya, but it is more of a relative type or a dependent type based on the way in which a human body with Jadharagni is going to assimilate this particular dravya. It is an anumana grahyam. Vipaga is karmanumeyam. Vipaga is karmanumeyam. Gunas are also like karmanumeyam. Vipaga is also karmanishtaya, karmanumeyam. We will learn the details of the definition of Vipaga and all these things in Dravyadi Vijnaniya. But you should have a concept. We stick on to three Vipagas because we have postulated three doshas. So every dravya is taken by the body when it is becoming rasadhatu in one of these three forms, either madhura or amla or kaduga. All these three are essential for the body. All three are essential for the body. Swadu is kabhavardhagam, amlam is pittavardhagam, kadu is vadavarthagam. So there are other possibilities. Amlam is also kabhavardhagam. Then why don't we take it? We have taken the best possible swayonita or tulyayonita here. They may be considered as representatives. So a representative is selected on the basis of the best representation possible. So we have Swadu, Amla, and Katuka. Swadu is Kabhavarthaka, Amla is Pittavarthaka, Kadu is Vadavarthaka in their absolute representative behavior. And there may be many questions regarding this. But at this point, we take it as taken for granted statement. Just we take the point of smrutam from the previous shloka. Ushnashida gunotkarshad tatra viryam dvidha smrutam. I told that the word smrutam is used when this point is not debatable as long as you wish to proceed through this text. Because the rest of the portion of this text is based on this presumption this concept that Ushna Shida Gunotkarshar Tatra Viryam Dvitha Smrudam. Similarly, Swadvamla Kadugatmagaha Trutha Vipagaha. So that is also a taken for granted statement. There are differences in opinion. There are Purva Pakshas. It is true. But in this text, it is concluded like this. Kabhavardhaga Swadurasa is Dhadu Poshaka. So every Madhura Rasa Dravya or whatever it is, or all those rasas which are going to be Madhura in Vipaka are Dhadu Poshaka. Then every rasa, every Dravya which is going to be Amla in Vipaka is going to be supporting the Agni Dharma because of its Pittavardhaka property. Snigdhoshnam. So Amla Vipagam represents the whole series of transformations, Parinamam, Pakam, that can happen in the dhatu which is represented or promoted or nourished by Mathura. And Kadu Vipagam represents the essential Srodha Shuddhi which is required for that transformation of Shleshma, Pinda, is to be properly facilitated. So the Pindam, its Parinamam, and its distribution. This is how the system is going to sustain. Pindam, its Parinamam, and its distribution. There should be wealth. That wealth should be properly distributed, and that should be properly transformed. Then only the system will sustain. So that capacity is dependent upon these three. So Vipagam is not the necessity of the Dravya. A Madhura Rasa Dravya will not compel you to make it Madhura Vipaka. Or a Tikta Rasa Dravya will not compel you to brand it as Kadu Vipaka. But it is the body's necessity, the body's need that it should be assimilated in the body as Kadu. Amla should be assimilated as Amla. Madhura, Amla, and Lavana, they are to be assimilated as Madhura. It is for that. So if there was a system which had 4 doshas, obviously there will be 4 vipakas. Because that is the way in which that particular school will be built with 4 doshas. Some schools has not gone this deep in the concept of vipaka. Sushruta is an example. Of course, it is based on the Agni Shakti. Sushrutacharya mentioned it as Guru Vipagam and Lekhu Vipagam. So it is the capacity or the willingness or the readiness of a dravya to get digested, to get processed by the Jadharagni. When you say a dravya is Guru, it is not representing the wish of the dravya. A dravya never prefers to be Guru or Lekhu. That Gurutvam or Lekhutvam is based on the Jadharagni Shakti of a standard human being. When you say that a dravya is guru in the sense of vipaka, that means Jadharagni will find it difficult to process this dravya. So it is not the absolute fate of the dravya, but it is in relation to the capacity of the human Jadharagni to process it. In the same way, when we say that Swadu Amla Kadugatmaga, three vipakas, it is not the wish of the dravya, but it is in relation to the capacity of a normal, a standard human being to assimilate a dravya, making it homogeneous to his or her system. That way, vipakam is 100% a conceptual entity. If you do not consider three doshas, you do not need a vipaka. If you consider two doshas, you need two vipakas. If you have four doshas, you need four vipakas. So that is the concept of vipaka. And that is given in a nutshell, just an introductory note that tridha vibhago dravyasya swadumla kadugatmakaha. I hope it is clear, or you have to think further on it. Then the next shloka, Gurumanda himasnigdha slakshna sandra mrudusthiraha gunaha sasukshma vishadaha vimshadi saviparyayaha. Gurumanda himasnigdha slakshna sandra mrudusthiraha gunaha. So here comes another attribute of a dravya, gunaha. Gurumanda himasnigdha slakshna sandram mrudusthiraha. How? Sasukshma vishadaha gurumanda himasnigdha slakshna sandram mrudusthiraha. How? Saviparyayaha. So 10 are listed. Saviparyayaha. Saviparyayaha. Dasha gunaha. So total Vimshadi gunas. Vimshadi gunas. Again, these 20 are considered as the absolute representation of a wide spectrum of gunas. There may be many other gunas, but there are many who need not be considered as independent attributes. They just count, they just add to the population, like many of us. We are not counted. We are just a part of the Indian population. Nothing specific about it. Nothing to represent the society. There are certain people who are going to represent the society. Similarly, gunas are a big pool, but many of which are not to be specifically mentioned because they don't have any peculiarity. Sometimes they may just get a passing reference. That's all. But ultimately, these 20 are going to be the absolute representation of dravya as well as sharira, which of course is another dravya, panchabhaudika sharira. So a panchabhaudika dravya in the context of sharira, whenever used either as ahara or aushadha, is going to be solely represented by these 20 gunas. Even out of these 20, only a few are going to be the ministers. We may be having a lot of MLAs, but they are not all going to be the ministers. Similarly, in another context, you will find that you need not select all these 20 to be the rulers. We need only 8 out of this. The remaining 12, okay, let them be there. Whenever we convene a meeting, okay, we may invite them. That's all. Nothing more than that. So that is how this guna is reduced to a number of 20. We will find many other 41 as elaborated by Acharya Charaka. In Ashtanga Sangraham, he has just made a passing reference like this. Indriyartha, Vyavaicha, Vigashicha Pare Guna. There are other gunas like this. Indriyarthas are gunas, but not in this context. So there is a question, what is the context? What is the importance of the context? Here we are trying to establish a connection between a dravya called Sharira and all the remaining Panchabhaudika dravyas. How these can be connected in terms of Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta. That is our question. That is the context. In that context, these things are not going to be of much importance. But these 20 are. They are important. And as we told in the case of Rasa, not Rasa, Vipaka, Karmabhistvanumiyande. They are Karmanumeya. So each of these terms are explained in their capacity to influence the body. Whether they influence the body or the body responds to them is a beautiful point of discussion. But I would stand with the concept that the way in which body responds to these characteristics, that defines the guna. Everywhere in Ayurveda, the basic reference is Sharira. The normal is Sharira, x-axis. So here, the concept of gunas are actually taken from darshanas, Vaisheshika darshanam or Tarkam. So guru is a concept, a property. Don't think it as either positive or negative. There is no question of positivity or negativity. It is a quality. It is an attribute, guru. So how a dravya is specified as guru? If in darshanas, it is a different thing. Gurutvam is a different thing. Adyapadana asamavayi karanam is gurutvam. But in Ayurveda, where Sharira is the Adhishthanam, Adhikaranam, where we are all detailing these concepts, it is more about how the body is responding, going to respond to a particular dravya. And it is all related to its capacity to assimilate also. So if the use of a dravya increases the bulk, brihatvaya, dehasya brihatvaya, such a dravya is known as guru. Brahmane karmani shaktihi guruhu. Brahmane karmani shaktihi guruhu. So here, being so kind, we give this capacity of being guru to the dravya. Brahmane karmani shakti. So gurutvam is a dravya shakti. Brahmanam is a dravya shakti. Gurutvam is a dravya shakti. We respect that shakti, but don't think that any dravya will bring about Brahmana unconditionally. It is again the capacity of the body to process it. If you are using a so-called Guru Dravya in a Manda Agni, if you are going to use the so-called Guru Dravya in a person with Ruddha Padham, Srodo Rodham, it is not going to bring about Brahmanam. It is going to deteriorate the system again. We have seen it in Ritucharya. Even if you give plenty of Brahmana Dravyas, it is not going to give you that so-called Brahmana, because the Srotas is not proper. Srotas is not. Trupyado Brahmanairapi, isn't it? Trupyado Brahmanairapi. Even if you feed the person with Guru Dravyas, he is not going to get the sort of Brahmana, because Doshobalipta Vadanaha Tasya Doshobalipta Vadanaha Rasavaha Siraha Rasam Navahandi. So Gurutvam brings about Brahmanam is not an absolute thing, but we are so kind. So we give that capacity to the Dravya. We attribute the Dravya as Guru. Fine. Then Saviparyayaha Guruhu. Saviparyayaha Guruhu. So obviously comes the Laghu. Same. Laghu is the capacity, Shakti of a Dravya. Dravyasya Langhane Karmani Shakti Laghu. So if a Dravya brings about Langhana, debulking, thinning of a Sharira, it is known as Laghu. Again, this is not an absolute statement. There are many things. Madhya can be seen to bring about Brahmana. It is Laghu. Takram Laghu Kashayamlam. But at one point, Acharya will observe and document that Srodassu Takrashuddheshu Raso Dhadunupayiti Yaha Tena Varnam Balam Pushti Param Tushtischa Jayate. So Takra is going to bring about Pushti, Poshana. So it is actually a relative statements. All these things are relative statements. We have to consider the status of the Sharira, capacity of the Sharira, capacity of the Agni. That is why we put Agni on the topmost level of this hierarchy. Agni Moolam Balam Pumsam. Shamapragobau Doshanam Sarvesham Agni Samsritau. Esha Saras Chikilsayaha Yad Agnehe Parirakshanam. So we take these dravyas, we learn, we study, we assess, we observe, we utilize these dravyas on the basis of the capacity of Agni, the capacity of Jadharagni to process. This should be in our mind always. But forgetting it, we are highlighting the dravyas. That is why we are making these sort of extreme statements like dravyasritaha gunaha vimshatihi gurvadi saviparyayaha gurvadi gunaha vimshatihi dravyasritaha. So each of these gunas should be understood in such way. Hemadri makes a beautiful listing of the sort of response that these gunas are going to make in the Sharira. Dravyasya brahmane karmani shaktihi guruhu langhane lakhu. Shamane mandaha shodhane tikshnaha. Stambhane himaha swedane ushnaha. That is important. Stambhane himaha swedane ushnaha. Kledane snikthaha shoshane rukshaha. Kledane snikthaha. Yasya dravyasya kledane karmani shaktihi sah snigdhaha. So, sneham, kledam. Some of these words we use in different contexts as well. Kledam. Kledam here it is used as a karma vishesha. Kledanam, which can be facilitated, not facilitated by, achieved by snigdha guna. But at times, we find this kledam as a dravya. Mutrasya kleda vahanam. Svedasya kleda vidhrudi. It is there. But in the chief context of snehapanam, we are trying to induce kleda. So sneha is required. So anything which can give that sort of kledana can be considered as snigdha, or reverse. A dravya is considered as snigdha only if it has the shakti to bring about kledana. That is how we use that sadhya snehana dravya, snehascha lavanolbanaha, because lavana has got that abhishyandi property. That lavanolbanada gives the sort of abhishyanda. Abhishyanda is another type of kledana. So it is considered as snigdha. Lavana is snigdha. So all lavanolbana things are considered as tools for bringing about sadhya sneha. Sadhya snehan, because of its sukshma property, it brings about sadhya snehan. Fine. Then shoshane rukshaha, kledane snigdhaha, shoshane rukshaha. Shoshanam, very important word. In sneha vyabat, we find many things used in a peculiar manner, where all these things which will bring about Shroda Shuddhi are used. Takrarishta Ghaloddalayava Shyamaga Kodravaha. A list. So Takram and Arishta Madhya Vishesham are used there. Just before we refer to these things, Madhya and Takra, they bring about Shroda Shuddhi. And when the Shrodas is Shuddham, the Rasadhadu circulates very easily. It need not be circulation. When I use the word circulation, I think it is a misnomer. Rasa travels very easily, making sure that every segment, every field is getting its share of nourishment. So when these dravyas are used for shoshana and these dravyas are used for Shroda Shuddhi, that gives an indirect, it makes an indirect equation that shoshana dravyas gives Shroda Shuddhi. So it makes another secondary statement that snehana dravyas can cause srodorodham because they bring about upalepam. So upalepam can be removed by shoshanam. This is clinically applicable in many contexts, and one of the applications is that takrarishta ghaloddalayavashyamaga kodravaha sneha vyapati sadhanam. So those things which are mentioned as sneha vyapat remedy, pradividi, they are all having capacity to remove this upalepata of the Rasavahasrodas. So they have got direct application in conditions with prominent snigdhajanya srodorodham. This is very highly applicable in Hridrogas. Hridroga is a classical example that way. Except one type of, or one part of one type of Hridroga, that is Shuddhavada Hridroga. Shuddhavada Hridroga, this should not be the line which will make the situation further worse. In all the other conditions of Hridroga, this is going to be your best tool. So that Shoshane Rukshaha is very important. Robane Slakshnaha Yasya Dravyasya Robane Karmani Shaktihi Saslakshnaha. We are using it in a number of times. Lekhane Gharaha. Lekhane Gharaha. Gharaha. Gharagunam is again a very important thing. When we list out these 20, ultimately they can be classified into two. Gunotkarshad, Ushnashida Gunotkarshad. So they will fall in line under the heading of Agneyata and Saumyata. That is very important. And they complement one another. Within one group, they complement each other. But when one member runs away from its own mother group and joins the other group, two things can happen. Two groups, Agneya group and Sita group, Saumya group. When one particular guna run away from an Agneya group, its family, and joins the Saumya family, that particular attribute is going to be received in two ways in the Saumya family. Either he will be celebrated, he will become a celebrity, or he will be hidden, he will be jammed forever, he will have no voice at all. In any case, the harmony in that group will be lost. When one guna from the Agneya group jumps to the Saumya group in a Dravya, same thing, when a guna from the Saumya group jumps into the Agneya group, either he will become a celebrity, or he will become a rebel, or he will become an issue in that group, because that harmony is lost. This concept is very important in Vichitra Pratyayarabdha Dravyas. Vichitra Pratyayarabdha Dravyas are so peculiar, and we many a times prefer to use them clinically because of this particular rebel present in it. So this grouping of the 20 gunas to Saumya and Agneya, Ushnashida Gunotkarshad, is very important. So this Ghara generally falls in line with the Agneya gunas. That is the classical way. But this Ghara guna will be hijacked by the Saumya properties in very specific conditions, and he will be a celebrity. That is how Asti is made. Shariram basically is made out of Snigdha guna, Snehasara. All are coming under the, especially I don't mean that everything is in the Saumya guna stage, but in the building up of the Sharira is basically with the Prithvi Jala Pradhana gunas, Saumya gunas, Shleshma gunas. Snigdhada leads the show, but in order to make the body components properly functional, useful, it needs some help from the other part. Asti is a classical example. Asti is made out of Sneha by hijacking Gharaguna from the other side. When Gharada is added to Snigdhada, it is going to make the building framework. It is going to make the skeleton. It is going to be the foundation for Asti. So there are certain gunas like that. Ghara guna is one among them. Prasadane sandraha, vilolane dravaha. So drava is the capacity to make vilolanam, not just the watery part, but it is the sheshi, capacity, shakti for bringing about vilolanam, whereas prasadanam is decided by the sandragunam, capacity to precipitate stuffs. Then sladhane mrudu, dridhane kathinaha, dharane sthiraha, prerane chalaha. Dharane sthiraha, prerane chalaha, Shleshma and Vayu. Vivarane sukshmaha, samvarane sthulaha. Vayu and Shleshma. Kshalane visadaha, lebane pichilaha. So all these things are explained in terms of their shakti to deliver. Karmani shaktihi gunaha. Karmabhistu anumiyande nanadrivyasritaha gunaha. So all these things are very important, and many other things that indriyartha, they are fine. We will discuss with them. We will discuss all these things in detail later. Paravaratve, that paradi gunas, they are important. Paradi gunas are the most important gunas as far as jnanolpatti is concerned. Now we just listed out, there are 20 gunas. So this 20 is another guna called Sankhya. When we are talking about this is Ushna, this is Shita, it means that we set one standard, okay, this is Shita. As this is Shita, the other one is Ushna. So the reference called the other is possible just because of Paravaratva. Param and Aparam. So the daily Vyavaharam and Jnanolpatti is based on that Paradi Guna. So they are very important, no doubt. But in this context of bridging the Sharira with the Panchabhaudika Prapancha, that is not contextual. That is not contextual. That is why they are not discussed in length and breadth in this particular prakarana. That's all. Then there are many other things. Vyavahi, Vikashi, all these things are exceptionally used in different contexts. But Acharya has made some sort of a logic behind them. Sarastikshna, Prakarsha, they are just the Prakarshavastha of Sarata and Tikshnata. That Vyavahi and Vikashi, fine. Then there are many things like that. In that Hemadri Vakhya, you will find all these issues addressed. Vyavahi, Drave Andarbodha, Vigashi, Sare, Ashugari, Chale, Prasannaha, Sthule, like that. Then Adrishtanam, Himalanam, Kshalane, Shakti, Suchitvam, Drishtanam, Vimalatvam. Like that, all the other terms which we commonly meet with in various contexts, they are all accommodated in this list of 20 gunas, or they are supposed to be the best representative of Sharira as far as its Panchabhautikata is concerned, and that is how it is bridged with the Bahya Prapancha. So they are also known as Sharira gunas. They are known as Gurvadi gunas. They are known as Vimshadi gunas. They are also known as Sharira gunas. So I think we will be having only another 10-15 minutes. So maybe we will switch over to some other discussion part. Is it okay? Because if we go to the next sloka, Kalartha Karmanam Yogo, I think we may not be able to complete it. Anyway, we'll just read it so that we will have a continuation next day. Kalartha Karmanam Yogo Hina Mithyadi Matrakaha Samyak Yogascha Vitneyo Rogarogya Ika Karanam. Kalartha Karmanam Yogo Hina Mithyadi Matrakaha Samyak Yogascha Vitneyo Rogarogya Ika Karanam. Kala Artha Karmanam Hina Mithya Adimatrakaha Yogaha Kala Artha Karmanam Samyak Yogaha Cha Rogarogya Karanam Vitneyaha. That is the statement. It is a very bold statement by bringing that Sankhya Shabdam Eka Karanam. He has made the statement very bold, because when such statements come, they become more universal. It is not contextual, but it is universal. So that way, these two lines are to be understood better. I hope everybody will work something on that two lines before our next session, so that we can have a better understanding of those two lines when we discuss them. Now we will move to some of the yogas, maybe, or if we have some, maybe the questions, one or two questions which we have to address at this point about whatever we have discussed, then we will see it now. Nilesh, what should we do? Shall we move to some yoga, Aushadha yoga?
Sir, you may decide, or we can move to Aushadhi Yoga, sir. Yes.
Fine. So I thought of not discussing. I'm not an authority of all these things. I'm just presenting my views. There may be many other things. Of one yoga called Vasa guduchyadi. Yesterday I asked one of my students in Kerala, asked me which yoga you are going to discuss tomorrow. Then I asked him to suggest. Then he suggested Vasa guduchyadi we will discuss. Okay, fine. Then I thought of discussing.
Presenter?
No, today I have not come with any slides, because I hope everybody will be knowing the yoga. It is Vasa guduchyadi kashayam. Vasa guduji triphala katvi bhunimba nimbaja kwadha shaudrayudo handi pandu pittasra kamala. That is the yoga. Vasa guduji triphala katvi bhunimba nimbaja kwadha shaudrayudo handi pandu pittasra kamala. So the avayavas of the samudaya, that is the way in which a yoga should be studied. Aushadha yoga is the samudaya, and the ingredients are avayavas. So here the avayavas are Vasa, Guduji, Tribhala, Katvi, Bhunimba, Nimba. So that kashaya is told as Pandu Pittasra Kamala Handi. Pandu Pittasra Kamala Handi. How Chaudrayutaha. Chaudrayuktam. Fine. Now, samudaya built up by the avayavas, or with the help of avayavas. Here the avayavas are almost of the same trait as we just discussed in the case of that gunas. We don't find a very classical rebel in this list. They fall in line with somewhat of the same type. Vasa, Guduji, Tribhala, Katvi, Bhunimba, Nimba. So the avayavas easily build up the samudaya somewhat in a straight line. So that way, this is a Prakriti Sama Samaveda Yoga. Prakriti Sama Samaveda Yoga. So by and large, summing up of the samudaya avayava will give you a picture about the samudaya. Vasa, Guduji, Tribhala, Katvi, Bhu, Nimba, Nimba. So a plus 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 will give you what the equal to is. But interestingly, there are certain drugs, certain ingredients. Say Vasa. I'm just giving you an example. Vasa is Rakta Prasadana. Manjishta is also Rakta Prasadana. So if you remove this Vasa and put Manjishta here, Manjishta, Guduji, Tribhala, Katvi, Bhunimba, Nimbajaha. Will it be the same? Because that also fall in perfect tune with this Kashaya Yoga. It has got all the merits to become a avayava of this samudaya. But will that yoga will be the same? That is the identity of this yoga. Vasa and Manjishtha both are Rakta Prasadana. But the level in which they work as Rakta Prasadana, that is different. Vasa works more on the plane in which the Paga of Rakta is happening. Paga of Rakta happens in two planes. From Rasa to Rakta and Rakta to Mamsa. So at that plane, Vasa is more influential than Manjishta. That is why Vasa is becoming the Agri Aushadha in Raktavitta. Both are Rakta Prasadana. But Vasa got this specific affinity. Manjishta is not the Agri Aushadha for Raktavitta. Vasa is. So that point gives a lot of uniqueness to this yoga. So that one ingredient, even though he is the member of the same party, no problem. But still he has got some uniqueness. That makes Vasa guduchyadi so unique. Guduji, Tribhala, Katvi supports it. Kaduki supports this Vasa in that particular aspect. This could have been made Katvi, Guduji, Tribhala, Vasa, Bhunimba, Nimbajaha. Then it will be Katvi, Guduchyadi, Kashay. But it is not Katvi Guduchyadi Kashayam, it is Vasa Guduchyadi Kashayam. Because while framing the yoga, the sole idea was to highlight Vasa as the unique member, not Katvi. Katvi is having the equal inclination towards this sort of a influencing the Rakta Pachana in Yagrit Pleha. That Rakta Pachana is supposed to happen in Yagrit Pleha. Yagrit Pleha no prapya ragadamu baidi. So it became Vasa Guduchyadi, not Katvi Guduchyadi. And Katvi, Bhunimba, Nimba, all these things are supporting. Guduji. Guduji is again a Rakta Bhajana Aushadha. Tribhala is a Kleda Shoshaga Dravya. Here we can find a a beautiful role for each member of the family, because it is a Prakriti Sama Samaveda Dravya. There is nothing, no rebels in it. Only a hierarchy is there, like any other family. There is a hierarchy. There is a head for the family, and all the other members are supporting it. So that way, just because of this wonderful sync between these members and energized, potentized by Kshaudra, it becomes Pandu Pittasra Kamala. So this Pandu Pittasra Kamala should be understood as something which happens beyond the limits of Koshtha, and more specific to the Koshtangas. Of course, they are Koshtangas, but not within the Koshtha, not in the specific Agnisthana, but in the Agnisthana of Dhatu, Raktapachana. So that way, it is independent of the Jadharagni. Whereas if it was dependent on Jadharagni, definitely you need somebody to put pressure on the Jadharagni. There are yogas like that, with almost similar Bhalasruti or something like that. When that sort of a Pajana is required in Rasadhadu, obviously the patient will be presenting with the symptoms suggestive of Apajanam. Apajanam means Amam in Rasadhadu. So obviously, in the clinical spectrum listed as Bhalasruti, will have Jwara in it. Here Jwara is not indicated, because it is not related to the Apajanam in the Koshtam, in the Amashe, but it is Yagrit Pliha. That is important. Manjishta Tribhala Tikta Vaja Daru Nishamrada Nimbaschesham Kritakvadha Vada Rekta Nishudanaha. That is another yoga. Manjishtadi. Manjishta Tribhala Tikta Vaja Daru Nisha Amrita Nimbascha. You will find many things in common. That is Manjishtadi Kashay. Manjishta Tribhala Tikta Vaja Daru Nisha Amrita Nimbascha. Vaja Daru Nisha Manjishta. Rest of the things are almost same. So there Manjishta is going to be the head of the family, and the Bhalasruti is Vadarekta Nishudana, not Pandu Pittasra Kamala. That is also a Prakriti Sama Samavaya Dravya. As far as the Dosha Samanata is concerned, they are almost same. Now, there is Punarnavadi Kashayam. Punarnava Nimba Padola Sundhi Tikta Amrada Darvi Abhaya Kashaya. Punarnava leads the show, and there is Sundhi. And the Bhalasruti Sarvanga Shobha Jwara Kasa Shula Shwasanvidam Pandugadam Nihandi. So it is also a medicine for Pandu, but Sajwaram. So it is more confined to Amashe. Amashe Gadamam. That is also a Tiktara Sapradhana Dravya, but there is another ingredient called Sundhi. So that is also good for Pandu. This is also good for Pandu. But there is a twist in the members, in the Avayavas. That way, Punarnavadi can be considered as a Vikriti Vishama Samavedam. So just summing up of the Avayavas will not give you the correct idea about the Samudaya. There are some exceptional things happening in it. So that way, Vasa guduchyadi is a Prakriti Sama Samaveda Dravya Aushadha Yoga, which has got its capacity to bring about Rakta Prasadana in Rakta Ashrayas Yagrit Pliha, influencing the Rakta Pachana, and it directly brings about good results in Pandu, Pitta, Asra, Kamala. Why Pandu, Pitta, Asra, Kamala is evident now because they are the beads of the same garland. Nothing strange in it. But don't depend on Vasa guduchyadi if you find that there is Koshta Ashrita Amam, Rasa Ashrita Amam. It is not a good choice. Chaudram gives extra precision to this yoga. You can change it to something else. And another important point is, when this Rakta Pajana is happening, Mamsa is made. Okay, fine. Rakta Prasadana is fulfilled. Fine. Another thing also happens. That is, Tatra Saptatvajaha Asrujaha Pachyamanad Prajayande Kshirat Sandanika iva. So, Tvak is made out of Pachyamana Rakta like the Kshira Sandanika. So, if you can have a medicine which can influence the Rakta Pachana, definitely it is going to work on the genesis, the making, the building, the manufacturing of Tvak as well. Saptatvachaha Asrujah Pachyamanat Prajayande. So if you can manipulate this Asrujah Pachyamana avastha, you are going to manipulate the standard of Tvak which is made out of it. So that way, Vasa guduchyadi is applicable in many types of skin disorders where this precise Rakta Dushti is there. Kleda Swarupa Rakta Tvak Dushti is there. Kleda Swarupa Tvak Dosha is present. Because this is a, that way this is a Kleda Shoshana Dravya in Tvak. There are many things which can be compared. We have a Padola Muladi Kashayam. You have Padola Kadrohinyadi Kashayam coming under the same family of Dosha Shamanatvam. Pitta Kabha Shamanam. All are Pitta Kabha Shamanam. Some of them are having some influence in the Koshta, especially Padola Muladi Kashayam, Kushta Chikilsidam. Padola Kadrohinyadi is again influential on this plane of Vasa guduchyadi, but it is a different type of action, which we have to discuss later. It is also influential on Rakta, specifically Vishashamana. Vishamdu Deham Samprapya Prag Dosha Yadi Shonitam. So that it can, this Padola the Ganam can block it. Padola Kadrohinyadi's Shodhanam. If the Shodhana property of these three yogas are compared, irrespective of or in spite of their Pitta Kabha Shamanata, Padola Muladi is a Pravara Shodhana Dravya. Padola Kadurohinyadi is a Madhyama Shodhana Dravya, whereas Vasa guduchyadi is an Avara Shodhana Dravya. You cannot expect a much Shodhanam, Koshta Shodhanam, Pitta Shodhanam from the Koshta with Vasa guduchyadi. You have to go for the other two according to the Vikalpa. All these three are Shoshana Dravyas, Kleda Shoshana Dravyas. Padola Kadrohinyadi does not contain Tribhala. Padola Muladi contains Tribhala. Vasa guduchyadi contains Tribhala. Tribhala is Yam Rasayanavara Tribhala Akshamaya Vaha Robani Twagada Kleda Medo Meha Kabhasrajid. That is its property. So how it is that ingredient is going to influence the samudaya is to be finely assessed. So I think this is the base explanation regarding Vasa guduchyadi Kashayam. Many things else, I think I could have given, okay, this is good in weeping eczema, or this is good in itching, this is good in that, this is good in... But I think I will give you a fishing stick, not the fish for a meal, so that you can live with this fishing stick, catching fish every day. So that is the way in which I conclude. So if we have a couple of discussion points, we will find it It is all. I have taken already 7-10 minutes extra from you. So Vaidya Nilesh, let us see whether something is to be discussed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there is some question, I think. Though asti made by Kharagun, when we use Kharagun for treatment of astikshaya, what will be increases and cause astikshaya? How it possible then?
We will discuss it in Doshadi Vijnani, because Gharaguna is not used as such for this astikshaya. Gharaguna is to be used with the snigdha. Snigdha gara we have to use, isn't it? Jadan astikshayad jadan kshira ghridaihi tikta samyudaihi kshira ghridaihi. So it is ghara with snigdha, not ghara alone. So that is how it is managed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Vaidya Atish has commented, Laghu Manjishtadi has many common dravyas as of Vasa guduchyadi, and Pathyadi also has almost same contents as Vasa guduchyadi.
Yeah, that we discussed now, no? Laghu Manjishtadi is what I told, that Manjishta Tribhala Tikta Vajadarin Shamrada Nimbascha. So I explained it, how it is
Yes.
becoming Manjishtadi and how this is becoming Vasa guduchyadi. Pathyadi, I think it is Patyakshadhatriyadi. Same thing. Same thing. What makes the Patyakshadhatriyadi, with Patyakshadhatriyadi means Tribhaladi, in short. Patyakshadhatri Tribhala. So how the Tribhala is going to lead the show to make it as the best drug for Jatrurdhadala Vikaras. So that is, I think that is a good way of understanding even any yoga. When we discuss 10 yoga, you will be able to understand 100 yogas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. So then, how to understand where Rasadhatu is not properly being manifested in the Vipak process?
I do not understand that question properly. If Sahiti can come up and ask the question directly with more clarification, it will be better, I think. How to understand Rasadhatu is not properly being manifested in Vipaka process. I explained it. I think up to that Ahar Pachana is completed in Jadharagni, it is one stage. Once the Saragitta Vibhajanam is over and the Sara is going to be pushed to the next stage of making it Rasadhatu, what rasa this particular new dravya, Jadharena Agnina Yogad Yadudedi Rasandaram. Jadharena Agnina Yogad Yadudedi Rasandaram Rasanam Parinama Ante. So that rasa is representative of the dravya what you have consumed as ahara. It is disintegrated, it is broken down even to the level of Bhudagnipaka. And now we have another substratum, another pool which is undifferentiated, which we call as aharasara. It is a new dravya. Now with the next push by the Dhattvagni, it is going to be the Rasadhatu. So at that point, this is a new rasa, a new dravya udedi, and that particular dravya will have its own rasa. That rasa is to be connecting this particular dravya with one of the three doshas. It is our need. It is a need of the Shastra to explain how this particular stuff is going to be influential on the three doshas. So that is how I told that, okay, Vipaga, the poor Dravya may not be even knowing that I am having this Vipaga, because it is none of his concerns. This is the concern of Vaidya or Sharira. How this is going to be influential on the three doshas. So I think up to that level, it is a foreign body, and we have explained in a different context of Kriya Shariram that how this process of transformation till end, that Avasthapaga is going through, and how doshas are going to influence this Pajana. That is the fun part of it. up to that completion of the avasthapagam, that is jadharagni-pagam, we are looking on how doshas are going to influence this pachana. Once that pachana is over, next is how this aharasara is going to influence the doshas. Reverse. Vayoho ratri bhuktanam tendam adhyadiga. How the doshas are going to influence the pajanam. Once the pachana is over, with vipaga, we are going to explain how this dravya is going to influence the doshas on reverse. Right. If I am not clear, that means I did not get the question clearly. Then she can ask.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Namaste. Good morning.
Yes. Actually, that I understood, sir. But how to understand whether Jataragni is fault, Bhutagni is fault, Dhatuagni? Actually, I also didn't ask the question properly. Because what people say is they have taken this ahara and we will be assessing rasa dhatu finally. Whatever dhatu. But where means which part of Agni? We have these 13 Agnis, but which part, how to understand?
Yeah, I understand. See, your perceivable part of the Agni is Jadharagni only. The rest of the Agnis are again that karmanumeyas. Jadharagni is somewhat pratyaksha, at least by means of this truth and krit. The rest of that Bhudagni and Dhatwagnis are karmanumeya. If all the Sharira Poshana is going on with every dhadu getting their share, we assume that the Dhatwagnis are working properly. If there is tesham sada adidiptibhyam dhadu vruddhikshayodbhavaha, isn't it? So sवस्थानस्थस्य कायाग्नेरंशा धातुषु संश्रिताः, they are known as Dhatwagnis, and their function is tesham sadadidiptibhyam dhadu vruddhi kshayodbhava. So from dhadu vruddhi or dhadu kshaya, you assume that there is sada or adidipti of Dhatwagni. If there is no vruddhi or kshaya, if it is normally moving forward, we assume that Dhatwagnis are normal, deeptam but samyag. So they are karmanumeyas. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It needs, I know that you are not satisfied. There may be many things, but I think we have to bring lot of examples, like what is going to happen in prameha, or what is going to happen in a post-menopausal phase of a woman, or what is going to happen in Kumara Sosha. Like that, if you pick a few examples, things will be clearer. But unfortunately, I think we will not get that elaborate time now. But definitely, if in one of a different context, you ask the same thing, definitely we will put some examples like that. From Kumara Sosha, through Raja Yakshma, through Pandu, through this Staulya, all these things, and we will find how this Dhatwagni is assessed, especially from corrective
Yes,
measures. Okay.
yes, sir.
Right.
Yes. Sir, we have still 2 more queries. What shall we do? Shall we continue or we'll summarize?
I think only one more question, no? In Prakriti Samasamaveda Dravyas, how can we understand the flag drag? I think we have discussed it in a previous session, but in any case, I think the Bhalashruti by and large will be giving an idea about the flag drag. There are differences, but first we have to set a standard. According to that standard operative procedure, the Bhalashruti may be giving an idea about the flag drag in a yoga. But there may be exceptions. They are to be understood by trial and error. Abhyasad prapyade. No other shortcut, unfortunately. That was the last
One more
question, I think,
question.
Nilesh.
Yes.
Yeah,
One,
please.
one more question is there. Sir, can we use Vasa guduchyadi kashay in DVT?
Okay. Vasa guduchyadi kashayam in deep vein thrombosis need not be as an outright prescription all throughout, because in DVT can have complex presentations. Maybe in the very beginning itself, if you start with Vasa guduchyadi, that may be giving a good response. But I think when the things become a little bit complex, when the other dhadus also get involved, I think you'll have to go for other yogas like maybe Maha Manjishtadi or Brihan Manjishtadi, what you call, or Manjishtadi sometimes, that way. But in the very beginning itself, if you understand, I identify, I think Vasa Gluchadi may be a good source. And you can add something other than Shaudram. You may add some other dravyas, other aushadhas like Kaishor Gulgulu or Amrda Gulgulu or that sort of things. I think it may be giving more desired outcome. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
I think with this we will conclude today.
Fine.
And
Fine.
in the next session, sir.
Okay then. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.